Thank you very much, Deputy Presiding Officer. I'd like to start by echoing thanks to Anas Sarwar and the Labour Party for using their time to bring this debate to Parliament this afternoon, and for the very measured tone, I think, which they struck at the top of the debate, which has been picked up by other speakers thus far. This is not a debate about personalities, either in government or on opposition benches in this chamber. It is a debate that is very much steeped in human tragedy, and I want to thank David's family and the other campaigners from the Lost Souls group who are here with us today for their courage in bringing this issue to Parliament, but also in being here to support us in our deliberation of it this afternoon. It says a lot about the state of our public policy response to suicide in this country that we need campaigns like the Lost Souls group, and that indeed that this debate does come in opposition time. Self-harm, suicide ideation, and indeed suicide completion represent the very nexus of human crisis, the very limit of endurance that all too many lives in Dundee and in regions beyond it, where that crisis is met all too often with silence and a void in service provision or gaps in service provision. Last week, I want to pay tribute to Richard Leonard for his First Minister's question last week. It was one of those pin drop moments where I think every single member of this chamber couldn't help but feel huge compassion for David Ramsey and for his families, that at the age of 50, he very sadly joined the ranks of all too many young men in this country for whom suicide is the leading cause of death. And I wish to associate myself and the Liberal Democrat benches both with Anas's call for those 5 tests to be met by that independent review into what happened in NHS Tayside. And I very much welcome the Cabinet Secretary's positive response to that. And on that basis, we can assure her of our support for the government amendment tonight, because confidence is absolutely key, not just to the families represented here, but to everybody in the Tayside area, in terms of the transparency that that review will need if it is to enjoy the confidence and reassurance that it can give to the families affected by suicide in that area. So the independence is critical, the public call for evidence is critical, hearing the stories and lived experiences of those families steeped in tragedy themselves will be vital to learning and ensuring that there can be progress made in this critical area. But what happened in Dundee and in Tayside is actually symptomatic of a wider problem, wider deficiencies in our public policy response to suicide as a country. Yes, suicide as a trend has been going down across this country. That is something for which we should all be justifiably proud. But we are seeing an uptick in its resurgence again, with an 8% rise last year alone. Now, I have mentioned many times the concerns that these benches have about the 18-month delay in the suicide prevention strategy, and the fact that it has been met with some derision from the sector. Now it has been published in draft, from the Samaritans, who talk to the fact it lacks resources, timescales, ambition. And in fact, Sam H, who were delivering suicide prevention training in this Parliament just this very week, who said that without an understanding of what's going to be in the plan, they can't plan for events like this or training events that they held without knowing the government policy response to which they should underpin. But I want to close by thanking again the Lost Souls group, and in particularly David's family, for having the courage to come to us today, to be part of this debate. Because if anything can come from that abject human tragedy, then let that legacy be positive action and concerted consensus across the benches in this chamber to ensure that David leaves a lasting legacy. Thank you.
Thank you very much.